Welcome to another video. Continuing on with our whiteboard series, my whiteboard series, whiteboard series. I just wanted to, well, I didn't want to make this video about what I'm about to say, but I just want to say thank you to somebody who sent me some non-toxic, low odor marker pens, which must have been after my video that I made where the smell of these was getting up my nose and making me feel quite lightheaded, or the old ones. I don't know if that's actually what was going on or if it was just the energy or the light that was happening in my mind at that time, but I'm always kind of goofy, really. I don't really take much seriously, but it's funny because I was just thinking, like yesterday, to make a mental note, I have to go down the mountain tomorrow, and I thought I'll just stop in and get some marker pens on the way back. I'm going to pick up my daughter. And then I just went up to the mailbox, and there's marker pens in the mailbox, and I'm like, the universe provides. And it does. That's the whole lesson that I'm presenting here with this, and there's a little brown note in here. So there's no name. It doesn't say who sent them, but the stamp is from Byron Bay Post Shop. So somebody in Byron Bay, thank you kindly. Non-toxic, low odor. I feel like that's a statement about my state of mind these days, hopefully. But anyway, whoever sent them, thank you. Thank you, Father. Thank you, the universe. And now I'm going to use them. I'll use the blue one because I think it shows up better. But Nico 5000. Dun, da, da, da. It's the Nico 5000. Not the 4000. It's the 5000. It's a whiteboard marker. Got to give everything a name, haven't you? Got to give it all a name. Yep, low odor. Can't hardly smell anything. So, I'll drug habit there. Give it a sniff. So, what I wanted to do in this video, don't know where I've done with the eraser, but what I wanted to do in this video was talk about the mirror, right, or shadow work, which is something that people are bandying around a lot these days. In spiritual circles, you'll find shadow work is more commonly used as the term rather than mirror work, but it's the same thing exactly. I prefer mirror work because the first time I ever came across this spiritual premise was in a book by Khalil Gibran called The Prophet, 30 years ago maybe. And it's been true for me ever since. When I started with A Course in Miracles, the idea, or Jesus's idea in the Bible and in the Course, but in the Bible, let's start with the Bible, it came first. In the New Testament, so Jesus' idea is pull the beam from your own eye before you try to pull the splinter out of your brother's, right? So, which fundamentally is, what I see in someone else is a fault in my way of seeing. I need to clear my eye to see truly what's actually going on there, and then I will be able to help that brother, should there be a necessity for any kind of help after that at all. Most of the time you'll find it was just an error in perception, and you will end up in a place of very, very deep gratitude to, a lot of birds suddenly at the window, a place of very deep gratitude to everyone for everything, and you'll realize in a sense that there is no one to fix, no one to have a conversation with or talk to or whatever. However, caveat to that, sometimes you do. Sometimes you do go to people and you make that offering, and I remember it was made to me many times when I was at the healing center, and people would come up and simply ask you, do you need help? Are you okay? And I follow in the same sort of vein. It's like, well, if you see your brother sitting down mopey and like that, it's like, well, it's only me that sees the illusion of somebody. It's only me that sees a mopey and a whatever. But if I've reacted to it, let me heal my own mind of it first, And then why not? It's the, you know, go up and say, hey, you okay? Would you like to see the situation you're in differently, and all that sort of thing? But you have to do the work on yourself first. 99% of the time, and you will realize this a lot in retrospect, in looking back, there was never really a need to say anything. But sometimes you do say something, and in the cases where that occurs, where you say something, or you think, not that you really think there's someone to fix or heal or whatever, but in the cases where you do extend the light and love of your heart and mind to someone else in a situation, you will usually find that if you remain defenseless and everything else like that, and open-minded, that situation will blossom into something else, right? I've had and there's no right or wrong. It doesn't matter if you get home, you think, oh, I fucked that up. I should have extended the hand of friendship, a bit more there, or and everyone will have those moments. But there's no right or wrong about it. This is a learning classroom. The universe is about learning, and just being aware of your own hesitancy, even or ignorance. Maybe it was just ignorant. Maybe it didn't really occur. You weren't really grounded. You weren't focused, and you missed an opportunity, right? And I've had plenty of those moments, right? Trust me, it doesn't matter. It's just a projection coming around again, right? So I can take responsibility for it, accept atonement for it, and then offer whatever is needed into that equation as the enlightenment of the moment, right? And it always comes from the Holy Spirit's script, storyline, not my own. But the idea then of the mirror is what I think I see in someone else is a reflection of my own erroneous thinking, my own wrong thinking. Erroneous is a bit of an old school word, isn't it? Erroneous. So, and I want to use the whiteboard for this, because I had this graphic in my mind about how to sort of portray this in a way, right? And you've probably all seen that empathy cartoon on Facebook that gets around with the guy begging, and he's holding up a mirror and puts the bowl. So when you look in the mirror, you're giving to yourself, right? Very, very nifty little cartoon. But I want to take it a step further. So, the lids are on tight. In the, let's say, in the idea of separation, which never occurred, we're not really here, we're not watching a video. Crazy, isn't it? Here's the tiny mad idea. These are fine points, so hopefully you guys can see that. These are fine point markers. I might have to blunt them a little, but don't know. Tiny mad idea of separation. Okay, that's the first part of the conundrum, right? That's in eternity, into eternity where all is one. All right, and if you've been watching my other whiteboard videos, you'll probably have a bit of an idea about that for yourselves now already. Right, so that's the first part of the equation. And let's just label that as the problem for a second, okay? It's not really a problem, but I don't really know how else to talk about it for a second to try and express what I'm about to put forth here. Okay, so the problem, and then the world, there's the veil, the mist that went up in the Garden of Eden, where Adam and Eve suddenly found themselves exiled. Love that word, exile. Exile. I watched the movie of Papillon once, where he was exiled for 40 years to an island. It's like, holy, great movie. Basically a movie about a guy doing nothing. It's what we're doing here. Nothing, looking like something. And here's the solution. I'll just put solution, right? So the world was made, if you've been watching my whiteboard video this morning, the world was made as a place where the solution could be accessed to this. It's all still in the mind of God, but here seems to be in consciousness, and I'll put it in a box, which will make it a bit easier, right? So consciousness has contained the problem as an idea in here that we're going to to solve, right? All the potential happens in here in time and space. And just as a scientist would look at all the potential in a particular equation for an answer, that's basically what God mind is doing through the dream, all right? The answer has come through, like in the Course, Jesus says there have been many attempts to save mankind, you know, to resurrect mind or man mind to its truth. And many have failed. And even in one of those, he said angels were sent in and had to be recalled because man didn't want peace. Man wanted conflict, reflecting still the original error or the fall from grace. Okay, so here we are in consciousness, which is the universe, life, the universe, and everything as we know it right now. And within that, we're looking for the solution. All right? Why am I here? What's life? What's the meaning of life? Is there a God? All of that. All of a sudden, I come into the equation in your video and I'm saying, there is a God. Like some excited, crazy guy. There is a God. And somebody made a comment in my Facebook today, it was an endearing comment, I guess, but they said, this funny-looking guy shows up and tells me stuff. I didn't know that is this funny-looking people? Do I have should I get a haircut? I mean, I don't know, what the hell. But I like to be presentable, I suppose. I don't really think about it. So we're looking for the solution in here. And each person's life, and I'm going to keep this singular, my life, right? There is a series of relationships that I find myself involved in, like everything is a relationship really, but there are specific ones in the cyclical nature of my life where I'm tasked or where I have chosen in the journey of my soul contract, to interact with these relationships as part of a great experiment to try and figure out the conundrum of up here, the tiny mad idea, and employ the solution, which is resurrection or salvation, into this cycle, which is energy, into this bundle. Bundle's probably a good word. I'll just stick with bundle unless something better comes to mind. Into this bundle of relationships that I've been given as my own little management task, right? So that I've taken on board in the journey of my soul. I've come down through the layers of different dimensional realities, different frequency realities, to this very dense form association frequency. You can't go lower than this, right? To look at the very foundation, to look at the very bottom part of this idea of the tiny mad idea, what it could be. It's very unstable here in here. I mean, at the moment we've got the Ring of Fire, the Pacific Ring's going mental, and there's volcanoes and landslides and everything going on, as there has been on every planet, I promise you. It's like it's just this constant cycle of stuff. And if you're in tune with the old stories of the what are they called, the people that look at the stars and work out the future and all of that, like the wise men, you know, astronomers and stuff like that. So the astronomers would follow the star, right, on the birth of Jesus. And it's like, those guys knew that Gemini was in the house of whatever or whatever it was, I don't know, but that's how they explained it. And they lived because they were tuned into a certain way of seeing frequencies in things through symbols in a way that was specific to their ray association, right? Me, I tune into the same thing through hearing. I hear with my heart. So when you watch that video about the satsang, the Zoom meeting, you'll see that in action, and it's just a tiny little glimpse of something I do, but it's necessary. It's necessary to help people get started and to get activated. You have to activate yourself in this by realizing how full of shit you are and how detached from your own emotional body you are, so that you can actually undergo the devastation of the loss of self-identity and have the alternative presented to you as a way of being able to make a choice between the two things, and to honor that and to go further in the journey of your soul through having another shift in consciousness. Whew, that's a lot to talk about. But here, so we got all these relationships, okay? In my particular looking at the relationships in my life, if you're reading the Course, Jesus says, specific contacts, right? Specific people, specific contacts, situations, whatever, have been included in your journey here, okay, for you to look at in order to undergo these moments of radical healing through radical forgiveness, right? So you can bear witness to the efficacy of salvation as we heal this one and we heal one over here, like the slice of the pizza, right? I'm healing each slice of pizza. Each slice of pizza is a relationship. Until all of these are healed, and I'm just seeing everything as one relationship, right? Which evens out my vibration, or brings my vibration to its purest or highest possible potential within the world under the auspices of what's being offered through salvation, right? And it goes like this. I want to get to the mirror. I'm just building the background here, right? So the concept of the mirror, the spiritual mirror, is that other people mirror your own denial, right? And that's why it's called denial, because you think it's other people. I think it's other people, but it's me, right? I'm either separate from God or I'm not separate from God. As above, so below. As in eternity, so on earth. Okay? It's a singularity. But down here, I'm looking to heal all my relationships from the idea that I'm separate from the other person, right? And specific contacts have been given to me to set up to do that. And each one of those contacts as a relationship, the catalyst for change, the catalyst for healing in the relationship, as the idea of the trigger or the block, right, to love's awareness in that relationship. And every relationship will bring shit up, trust me. Anyone who's ever been in a relationship knows they tend to bring up all sorts of stuff. You can't tiptoe on eggshells forever. So as you go through and heal those relationships, your vibration becomes more genuine. It becomes more like your true type, more like your holy mind, more like your true communicative expression as part of creation extending. Okay, I won't go further into that because we're getting into the domain of experience required to understand what I would say next. And right now we're just dealing with concepts. Okay, concepts that embody principles that can be applied in your daily life so that you can make changes and begin to see those changes reflected back. So the mirror, here's me walking fairly easily through my experience. I'm not too bad. I'm having a fairly good day. And then, I look a bit evil there. Oops. I look more evil. Got beady little eyes. I'm having a good day. And then somebody shows up and they say something, blah, 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 right? And all of a sudden, mental fog. Ugh, that person, why did they say that, right? They're saying that for the reason that they're one of those people in my relationship situations that's showing up, right? So that I can see that I'm not perceiving everything out here as one with myself. I'm perceiving it as separate and reacting to it as if it's somebody else saying something rather than somebody reflecting back to me thoughts about myself that I don't want to look at because I'm stubborn and full of hubris. I'm just a big bundle of ego, as somebody told me the other day, which is spot on. It's really great. You know, there's no point being in the world here trying to be the egoless man. It's not true. It's never going to happen. If you still got use of one of these bodies, hello ego, right? So you can have a Christ-minded orientation, but it's still all manifest of ego mind, right? All form is illusory. Illusory equals ego. So I And I've had people tell me that they've got no ego, which is me, my finger on my, I must have been thinking I had no ego at some point because someone showed up to tell me, right? The pens just showed up in the mail when I was thinking about, I need new pens for the whiteboard that don't make me dizzy. So I'm looking here and there's a mirror, right? And I look intensely into that mirror, and what I'm looking for in the mirror is the catalyst, right? That person said A, B, C to me, and it triggered me, right? It doesn't matter what they say. They could say, Dave, you're fantastic, or Dave, you're a pile of shit. Doesn't matter. If I react to it as if it's anything other than an NPC or a figure in my dream or a reflection of my own mind, which is what we're getting to, then I need healing. Right? I'm either seeing love or a call for love. Love or a call for love. It's either everything's unity or separation. If I'm seeing separation, there's something for me to heal in my own, mind. Not out there, although it may eventuate. Like I said, it may eventuate. I'll say something to that person later. But it will come from a place of gratitude for the opportunity they've presented me to heal something in my own mind rather than from the triggered or wounded place. My friend Claire was talking about honouring the wound the other day. I don't know that you can honour it, but you can definitely acknowledge it. You know, but so I'm looking into the arms and legs. I'm looking into the mirror of my own reflection because I'm one with all things. Like Ramana Maharshi would say, there are no other people. There's no others, right? And that's always going to be the case, right? Until enlightenment dawns on the mind up here in eternity, and you remember the truth of yourself as being one with all things, then you have to deal with the world as if you're separate from all things. Because experience up here, this is the teacher, this is the opportunity to learn of this. Okay, does that make sense? This is the opportunity to learn of your truth in eternity. It's not really about fixing the relationship or healing the relationship here. It's about healing the relationship with my creative source, God, the great mind of the universe, whatever. Okay. So down here in the world, let's say, I'm in the world, I'm going through a series of symbolic opportunities to transform my mind about the way I think things are. I think I'm separate from this person who's in my mirror here, who just insulted me or said something rude or something that pumped me up one way or the other, right? I'm in a relationship with a reflection of my own thoughts, right? This is the same in Buddhism, the same in Hinduism, the same in Christianity. Pull the beam from your own eye because it's only going on in your own mind what you think. Projection makes perception. I'm projecting onto this person, onto this image, all the meaning that it has for me about what they've said, right? When the mind is healed, it won't matter what they say. If I'm going to Japan in July, right? But if I go to Japan, which I'm going, I could be having a conversation with a Japanese person. I don't understand a word of their language. Sorry, all you Japanese people. You're going to have to tolerate that. Konnichiwa. It's the only word I know. I wouldn't know what they were saying. I wouldn't react. They could be sitting there going, yong cha chung cha 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 chong chong, you know, and whatever, and explaining, waving their hands around like that. I know they're saying something, but I can't give it any meaning because I don't know what it says. Eventually, I've got to say, I don't understand, you know, like whatever, and make some sort of sign language. But it's not upsetting me. It's like just anything. It's like talking to a baby. If a baby's like goo goo gaga, and it's like, you don't know what they're saying. It's like, as long as they're not crying, right? So, but then somebody comes along and says, hey, you're a shitbag. And it's like, I've had people tell me some horrible things, you know, but they're only thoughts in my own mind that I've thought about other people because this voice in my head does, or never used to, doesn't shut up. And it makes critique on everything, which drives you crazy, which is what actually insanity is, right? Reacting and listening to that voice in your head that is giving you false sense of meaning because of the projection that it's putting onto everyone else and everything, which keeps you distracted from looking for meaning where it truly is in eternity, which is within you because the kingdom of heaven is within. okay? And you find that through prayer, meditation, etc. So, how do I deal with the reflection? I'm just going to rub this out. These pens are a bit more sticky than the other ones, but they're not as much up my nose, so that's a good thing. As far as good things go. Right, so how do I deal with my reflection? I put my finger on my nose. Right, so here I am. I take responsibility. There's my nose, my finger's on it. There's my hand. And my eyes are closed, and I'm being honest. And I'm allowing myself, all the girls are going to get happy when I do this. I'm allowing myself, because this is what they tell their husbands all the time, to feel what was said. Don't know if you can see that on there, little red love heart. I'm allowing myself to feel it, to connect with how that made me feel. Right? Because instantly, as soon as my mind recognizes the offense of thinking that person said something negative to me or something called me a shitbag, it's like, what? Bastard, why would you say that? Right? But it's like, oh, hang on, don't miss this opportunity. I put my finger on my nose. I'm going to take responsibility for what they've said, because this person, who seems to be separate from me, is a figure in my dream. Right? This person is an NPC or a whatever, and they just say stuff. They'll say, you know, nah, whatever I have projected out in my mind that I don't like, because I have thoughts in there that I think are good and thoughts that I think are bad, the yin and yang of my thought system, right? I like all the good thoughts, the noble thoughts and the wonderful thoughts, and I project all the others out. I deny that they're there. I don't like them. They drive me to drink and drugs, and it's like I can't stand those thoughts in my head, right? Subliminally, we blame the things out here rather than realizing it's our own thinking, because in here it happens so quickly, right? And the mind is convinced that the outside world is the antagonist of the protagonist. Right, so the outside world is affecting me. I'm the protagonist of my dream. I'm the dreamer of my dream. The outside world affects me. I think it does, because it's always there. I always see it, and it always seems to call me a shitbag or something, you know, whatever. But now I'm taking Jesus at his word and Ramana Maharshi at his word, and there is no one out there, right? Now, that's a step of total responsibility. I'm taking responsibility. I've got my finger on my nose. I'm accepting that cause and effect, thoughts and the effects, which is how I feel about it in my heart, are not separate, right? Thoughts and emotions are not separate. Cause and effect is never separate, right? But here, the cause is here in my mind, right? The effect is that I've projected out onto the universe. Somebody shows up, just like these pens showed up in my letterbox, because I've projected a thought out there that I need some new pens, and probably didn't make a mental note really. And then it comes back to me, because mind is whole. Wherever I go, I take my own mind with me, which is why when you get the shits with a certain town or a certain group of people, and you find a new friend group, you go to a new town, I'm starting my life over, fuck this town, I hate this place, it sucks. Many teenagers all suddenly paying attention. You take your own mind with you wherever you go, and you'll get to the new place, and before long that whole cycle starts around again, and you realize this place is no different to the other place, and you start to feel dispossessed of your belonging and your place in the world, and you start to question, why is the world so fucked up? I can't find anywhere I truly feel that I belong, right? And then mental health starts to deteriorate unless you have a whiteboard and some non-toxic markers and someone to explain to you what's actually going on. So I'm taking responsibility for what's been said. I'm the dreamer of my dream, okay? I'm forgiving myself for the world I think I see and healing my own relationships in it, because if I have to go out here and get this person to forgive me for whatever reason they think I'm a shitbag, and that person and the next person, there's going to be a queue from here to the planet Pluto. Right? Because I don't know fundamentally, I do, I've had the experience, I've been up here, right? But fundamentally, if you haven't reached enlightenment yet, the fundamental premise is, I don't know who I am, why I'm here, what it's all about. And that's the way you proceed until you do know, right? Having a whole head full of spiritual gobbledygook doesn't mean you know something, right? Experience is the teacher, and it's important to take that on board. You are the universal student, and you learn by being willing to actually teach this stuff. And generally you teach by example. There's not many people that you'll find with a whiteboard like me that teach like this, right? But bear in mind, and take it from me, I do actually put this into practice. I'm not just preaching something I don't practice. I do put it into practice. So I'm taking responsibility. What I want to do is feel it. I want to feel it. I want to catch it. I want to nip it in the bud, right? And anything can trigger you. Anything. It doesn't have to be a person calling you a shitbag. It can be just a confusing situation, or it can just be maybe just a build-up of various elements of stress, and all of a sudden you're just like, fuck, I need to go camping, or I need to get out of here. I want to kill somebody, stupid politicians or whatever, right? Everyone's playing their part perfectly for you to get you here to eternity according to the role that you've asked them to play for you in this dream of death. Right? Where you're coming as an eternal being that can never actually die, where you're coming to look at the potential contained within your own association of the avatar mind to world association that you've been given or have chosen as part of the reparative kind of collaborative venture that we call the journey of the soul in your soul contract. Okay, and there's a little book by, I think it's Neil Donald Walsh, Little Soul and the Sun. It's a kid's book, like a bedtime book, and it's beautiful. And it explains how, to kids, how we're in eternity and the little soul wanted an experience of separation so it could come to know what it was in relationship to being the whole thing, or being one. And all the other little souls agreed to play different parts. One was an antagonist, one was a lover, one was violent, one was... And the catalyst for the healing so that the little soul could come to remember the truth of itself and thus know itself was forgiveness. So, which revealed the alternative to what the presentation of the external world was trying to convince little soul that it was, right? The purpose of this person playing the antagonist out here is always to try and convince you that you are the body-mind association undergoing an earthly journey where you're going to die at the end and then have to come back and reincarnate. The purpose of the universal curriculum is to use the same relationships, right, with different principles involved to get you to undergo shifts in consciousness, to have micro experiences or samadhi experiences, if you like the Eastern traditions, to give you glimpses into an alternative way to see yourself so you can make decisions based on that and change the narrative of, instead of projecting out, joining in this kind of singular experience of self. Like literally everyone I meet is me. Everybody I meet out there is me. It's my mind making up an entire world. And you might go, oh, bullshit, that's not possible, right? Well, you're listening to a guy that has seen the entire universe vanish, including my own body, finding myself back in eternity, realizing in eternity I made the whole thing up, and then finding myself back here with a lot of healing work to do. Seems to be a shit ton of healing work to do, but luckily I'm entitled to miracles. But purification is necessary. First, this is the purification, using the mirror, right? So I'm seeing this person as my mirror. They're reflecting back to me what it is that I don't want to look at in my own mind because I've projected it out because I want the yin but not the yang. I'm looking somewhere in my mind. I know I'm looking for perfection, and all the crap doesn't remind me of perfection. All the good stuff, there's some frequency with all the good stuff that that draws me in because, you know, I'm looking for perfection in that person or in that situation, whatever, always outside of myself, right? Unfortunately, having an association with only the good stuff implies, because I can't escape the dualistic nature of my mind, implies that the bad stuff's never far behind. And then you get caught in a sort of vicious loop. I'll keep projecting that bad stuff out there. And it keeps coming back because mind is whole. I can't escape my own mind, my own thoughts. My cause and effect relationship with the universe is inescapable. Okay, what you put out does come back. And it comes back in the form of people calling you whatever and doing whatever to you. The more you ignore the lesson, the worse it gets. Okay? And I mean that. I'm not just saying that to scare you. I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want to put fear into the mix here, really. But I do want to put that in there to draw emphasis to the necessity to be about your Father's business and start to pay attention to what's actually going on in your life. Because I don't want to see you suffer, and I don't want to make that up as an idea in my mind that you might suffer. But what occurs is inevitably that you'll turn on the news and you'll see it everywhere, you know, and the world's always going to present that face. The world's always going to present that idea of suffering. And unless the mind is disciplined, you'll find yourself getting drawn into it and then being a collaborator with it. And then before long, you're back in the cycle again. So it takes a lot of mind training or a decent amount of discipline and devotion to your true self to break that samsara, that cycle of birth and death and the learning that goes along with all of that in the opportunity to break it. So I'm going to feel it. I'm going to totally feel this in my heart space. He called me a shitbag. Ow, that hurts. Let me feel it and let me sit there in that feeling so that I can be honest about the prayer for the healing of my mind. Because if I'm just like, hey, man, I don't like that you called me a shitbag. Finger on my nose, and I offer it straight away, right? If I offer that to the Holy Spirit, heal my mind that believes I'm separate from this person, because I want to liberate my mind from the triggers that I've got going on here, and I want to liberate that person from the role that I've projected onto them. I don't want them to have to play that part for me anymore. I want them to be happy and not have to have any reaction to how it is that I seem to show up for them, calling me a shitbag or whatever. Dream or no dream. Why would I want any kind of chaos, conflict, or anything anywhere with anyone? Makes no sense, does it? Love is unconditional, right? So I'm going to feel this here. So I get my red pen again. And I'm going to feel it totally. I want to bloody feel that totally. Yes, it hurts. And of course, the ego mind's going to go, you should punch that guy on the nose, or you should tell that person to bugger off, or you should tell that person that you've been hurt, or you're a victim to them now, and all of this stuff, right? Victim. I'll put a big capital V above the head here because there's a temptation to want to be the victim of somebody else's comment. Doesn't matter what the comment is. Doesn't matter anything about that. I'm not a victim. I'm a child of God, right? There's no victims in eternity. But unless my finger stays on my nose, it's probably going to want to slip off and point out there at that other person. Someone said something to me. Someone did something to me. And I'm going to miss the opportunity for healing, which means that even if I did get retribution by punching this guy on the nose, the whole situation is going to have to come around again because the lesson repeats until it is learned. And the lesson I'm learning here is found through forgiveness, experienced through forgiveness. The lesson I'm learning is that there is no world, that I'm not separate from anyone or anything, that it's literally just a classroom, a divine classroom. Right. So I'm going to feel this totally. I'm going to feel my pain of that comment totally. I'm admitting that I've been triggered up here. I think about it. Oh, that's shit. That they shouldn't say that. It makes me feel, bam, in the heart space. Sometimes you'll feel it in your gut. If it's fear and that, you'll feel it down lower. But you want to feel it totally, because you take that to your inner altar in prayer. You take that to the Holy Spirit in prayer, or the Spirit of holiness within you, and you offer it as a prayer to the higher mind. Heal my mind of this trigger, this block to love's awareness, so that I can see beyond the image of this person to the truth of them as my brother in eternity, let's say, that chose to come down and play this part for me in our experimental looking at the equation of the problem up here to find the solution down here. As above, so below, right? The problem seems to exist in eternity, or where I'm dreaming this whole thing, but I'm working it out down here. I'm looking at it objectively and like putting my finger here and like, all right, let me take responsibility for it. Right? I'm going to pull the beam from my own eye. No one's doing anything to me. I've projected a role onto that person. They're showing up on time exactly as they're meant to. There's no coincidences. They're saying what they say. I react to it how I react to it. I'm either going to heal it by taking action outside of myself, or I'm going to feel it in my heart and offer it up in prayer that way, right? When I offer it in prayer that way, what happens is a little bit of my storyline gets snipped out in the place where I would normally react and perpetuate the learning of the lesson, right? A little bit of my storyline gets snipped out. Red pen, blue pen. And I'm happy again, right? I look a bit, can't do eyes very well there. Maybe if I put a nose in there, right? So, and there's this person here who, unbeknownst to them, I've just accepted atonement for whatever, and their insult no longer lands on me. If I see them again and they say, "Hey, shitbag, how you going?" Whatever, it's like, there's no trigger. I've removed the trigger because I've taken responsibility for the part they've been playing in my life as an idea of they're a figure in my dream, or this is the person that I've asked to come into my dream to play a specific part. They've played that part. I've taken responsibility for it. I've healed it in my mind. If I see them again and they say, "Hey, shitbag," and I react to it, then I'll know that my prayer hasn't been honest. I didn't truly feel it in my heart. It was more lip service than heart service. Right? It's the prayer of the heart for the healing of the mind that believes it is separate from God. That's it. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, blah, blah, blah. That's happening in you. That's happening in me. Okay, so all of a sudden, if I have been honest, oops, throwing things around. If I have been honest about the prayer of my heart and I've felt it truly and I've totally offered that in prayer, then what happens is this person, I see them and they say, "Hey, shitbag," whatever. Energetically, I'm not reacting because there's no trigger, right? All of a sudden, something, because this is all frequency, right? This one was all over the place because that's the part I've asked them to play. All of a sudden, because there's no frequency going on in me that reacts to that to perpetuate it, this person is automatically liberated from the part they have to play, and our frequencies match and the relationship becomes holy. Okay? It's a single relationship. It's like two photons. They can be in different places, but they spin together at the same time. As one changes, the other one changes exactly at the same time because they're not separate. They're the same thing, right? People are the same thing. It's exactly the same as quantum physics. I'll take my Nobel Prize now, thanks. All right. I can explain the twin slits theory as well if you want me to. Actually, I think I did make a video on that some years ago. But that's this relationship. So in my cycle of relationships that I have, right, which I agreed to undergo the particular journey of as part of working out the tiny mad idea as collaborating in salvation, right? I'm awake to that now. I'm awake to the fact that I'm actually here for a reason. You're awake to the fact you're actually here for a reason. We've got to be about it now, right? We're participating in salvation. All of these relationships that make up my cycle, let's say, or my experience in the world, shitbag is now off. That's that one, right? That one's out of there. And eventually all of them, the same thing. The one that I have with my wife, my kids, my education, my job, my finances, my whatever, they're all relationships. I heal them all miraculously through prayer, through healing of the mind, prayer of the heart for the healing of the mind that believes it's separate, until finally my experience of myself in the world is whole. It's a whole circle. It's not a series of individual relationships. I've returned my package, let's say, or my obligation to the atonement up here. I've taken responsibility for it down here, and I've healed a whole bunch of energy, right? Because the idea of potential is contained in the energy of the tiny mad idea, right? And if you look at the idea of the Big Bang, let's say, and I know some scientists now dispute that as a theory. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use it to explain an idea. The idea of the Big Bang is, let's look at it as energy. It's a huge expulsion of energy from a 0 point that matter and antimatter should have cancelled themselves out. The universe shouldn't actually exist. I'm telling you, it doesn't actually exist. It's like this now, but we're still seeing it in the potential of what could have existed or what we think could have existed as a divine mind dreaming of an idea of separation from itself, or examining itself. What am I? What is this? Right? God mind dreaming. I'm a figure in the mind of God's dream, part of God itself, looking at the dreaming on behalf of the greater good, collapsing a specific amount of the idea of potential within that as, let's say, a false attempt or a failed attempt to prove separation from God real. Okay? You can't ever prove separation from God real, because if God is everything, how can you possibly ever be separate? How can I be separate from everything other than to be delusional about it and to know that I'm not separate, and yet to maintain the illusion or the density or the perspective of separation is crazy, right? But the world presents the opportunity to work out one's own crazy and bring it back to a reasonable perspective that I'm one with all things, as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven, right? That's how you make heaven on earth. All right, you might want to watch this video again. I know I babble on. Some people say to me in the comments, this guy fucking just babbling on, you know. It's like, well, if you're ready to listen to my babble, you'll get something out of it. Before I go, all the links will be put down below in this video. Deb's doing that now. Tina's showing you how to do it. All the links will be down below in the comment thing. If you want a 20-minute book, if you want a traveler's guide, the link will be down below. If you want to join our Zoom meetings, the link will be down below. If you want a free PDF of the white edition, the link will be down below. We just want to give you everything. All right, I love you and thank you. And I've got a few. Oh, I won't say it, I'm too bashful. More ego. I've got a few admirers, it seems, and whilst I appreciate that, I also understand that I've projected you out there to play a part for me that I'm now no longer really on board with. But I look at that idea as being on board with things, and I've got to be honest. It's like, well, maybe there is a little bit of on boardness still about that, but again, I'm going to put my finger on my nose and heal that in my own mind. But I do appreciate the comments, and sorry to let you down. I don't have a romantic bone in my body particularly. All right, I love you guys, and thank you. Peace.